Good afternoon, and thanks for tuning in. This is the Market Wrap on BloombergQuint, and I'm Mathew stepping in for Neeraj Shah. Now, when we set up for trade today, we looked at the handover from the US markets, and we looked at the way trade was setting up in the Asia Pacific region, and we were more or less set for the kind of session that we ended up seeing today. Gold prices, of course, at the start of trade were the big talking point, and they were on a bit of a roller coaster both yesterday and today. And whether that's going to have a bearing on the riskier assets globally, well, that's a conversation for later. But for our markets, the benchmarks ended just marginally in the red, but very clearly off the lows of the day. Now, a couple of themes stood out for me. If you look at the benchmark Nifty, the top gainer was HCL Tech, and you saw a couple of names in the IT pack stand out today. Perhaps that has to do with reports that say that some of the frontline IT majors could be involved in building the technological ecosystem for the Indian defense. The Nifty Bank again registered another day of gains, and it's now a week of gains, if I'm not mistaken, for the Nifty Bank. And quite likely you'll see that the trend of late of foreign institutional buying is likely to continue today as well. But within that banking group, interestingly, today it was the PSU banks that stood out. In fact, they were the biggest sectoral gainer today. The likes of SBI, BOB, you'll see, in fact, SBI among the top gainers on the Nifty today. And also another interesting sectoral gainer today, the auto pack has done quite well in trade. You have most of the stocks in the auto index also gaining today in trade. On the losing side, you had the pharma companies that saw another day of losses today. Perhaps some of those stocks seeing a bit of profit taking. They've had quite a run over the past month or so. Cipla, one of the biggest losers on the Nifty today. Now, let's also look at the broader markets. In fact, if we can pull up the move function, you'll see that that's more or less going to tell a similar story to what the Nifty is telling you, which is the fact that there are almost an equal number of gainers and losers, both in the Nifty as well as in the broader markets. Now, a couple of names very clearly stood out there. IDFC gaining as much as 16% in trade today. InterGlobe Aviation, my colleague Nickey is going to be talking to you very shortly about that counter. Lemon Tree, another day of gains, gaining as much as 10%. Motherson Sumi reacting to earnings. Again, Nickey will talk about that. But you see that the auto Ank makers, you see Bosch also over there among the top gainers, doing quite well for itself. On the losing side, you have GMM Fowler, which was very active in trade yesterday among the gainers. It's down about 7% or thereabouts today. You have names like Crompton Greaves, Suzlon Energy, and of course you also have emphasis there in the losers. But broadly, an even split between the gainers and losers, even in the broader markets. If you look at that, Neeraj was telling you at the start of trade today. We'll have to see whether this turns into a trend. Of course, we'll get clearer numbers when the buying figures and the selling figures, net buy and sell for FIs and DIs, come out later today. But as of now, let's look at the top 4 stocks that Nickey has picked. Nickey, good afternoon. A few stocks that have been quite active in trade today. What are the ones that you want to talk about today?
Sure. Actually, there are some of the unconventional, less fancied names actually which were doing the market round today, be it in like PVR, Inox, Indian Hotels, Lemon Tree. All of them actually did exceptionally well. But what I have picked up is Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone. Solid set of performance by the company. In fact, the numbers were better than what the street was estimating. That's one. But the commentary rather was, encouraging, and also the kind of tariff hike which has taken place in the toughest quarter that the company could see. That actually goes on to speak volume about the pricing power. So clearly, management also sounded bullish in terms of the volume recovery and said that the worst is now behind, because of which you saw 2-3% kind of an uptick for Adani Ports, and of course, it's been 3 to 4 consecutive session of gains for Adani Ports as a whole. InterGlobe Aviation, what a smart move. 10% uptake in intraday gains speaks volume about the kind of measures that the company is now willing to undertake in the situation that it has been going through. It has released some of its aircrafts, and also it has raised some amount of funds. So that is expected to have it's expected to increase the book value of the company and also lead to some amount of cash buffer when it comes to 15 months period as compared to 12 months that we were looking for earlier. And also third in my list, of course, Alex, is the name of Bharat Forge, where the numbers have been good, commentary has been decent enough, demand revival seen in for domestic and export markets. And also Bharat management said that they expect revenue to be flattish in Q2 year-on-year basis, despite the kind of the capacity utilization it is using and utilizing. It currently stands at nearly 20%. Despite that, it's estimating a flat revenue coming in Q2. That's clearly on account of cost optimization measures. So clearly a 5% uptick on account of that. And fourth name that I have in my list is Hindalco. Now, Hindalco, along with most of the metal counters, they witnessed a selling pressure, down by 2.5, 3% odd. Novelis will come out the number anytime soon. And we're not expecting good set of numbers coming out from Novelis, which is the downstream arm of the subsidiary, contributing to around 60, 65 odd percent of its EBITDA. But then that, to an extent, will have a bearing. And of course, there are multiple. Hindalco in itself also will report numbers on Friday. So some amount of selling pressure already mounting in for Hindalco in today's trade. Alex.
Now, Nickey, we're moving into weekly expiry. It's going to be a busy day for the earnings side of things. What are you looking forward to in both tomorrow as well as the end of the week?
Sure. Tomorrow you have an action-packed day. You have a lot of Nifty companies actually reporting their numbers, being in likes of BPCL, Eicher Motors, GAIL, Grasim, Tata Steel. All of them would be reporting in their numbers tomorrow. And August 14, as I just mentioned earlier, on a Friday, we are going to be seeing Hindalco reporting in numbers and NTPC also reporting in numbers. But what I would what I would like to watch out for in tomorrow's trade is the way Hindalco behaves, because if there is any amount of uptick that Novelis shows at this point of time, it will have a direct bearing on the stock. If it manages to surprise us, a 60% EBITDA coming from Novelis will definitely augur well for Hindalco.
All right, there you have it. Thanks so much, Nickey, for that update. And those are very clear themes to watch out for in the rest of the week as well. That's more or less what we have for you in this edition of the Market Wrap. I hope that this was a conclusive session for you as well. Do stay with us. There's a lot more coming up in just a short while, and we'll see you again tomorrow.